Well, it's the middle of February right now. I think today's the 11th or 12th, something like that. And it's time to start cleaning out the greenhouse to get it ready for the next season. Now, this year I did not heat it during the winter time, so it got cold in here. It froze every night for during January and probably December. It froze every night in here, meaning it got below 32 degrees, but it never got below, I'd say 22. So the pond and the water system I have in here does tend to keep the real cold chill out of this place, but not below freezing. But I guess I could heat it and keep it going all winter, but I decided not to this year. So I've already started cleaning up some stuff. So let me show you how everything worked over the winter time, what worked and what didn't work. Okay, now right here, of course, is where I had tomatoes planted, or beans and things like that. And of course, they died off pretty quickly. As you can see, they didn't get more than 2, 3, 4 inches tall, something like that, before the cold weather came. And I think I planted them around November. So those are gone. And of course, my tomato patch here, that is gone. And I got to clean that up. Now, last year when I tried to heat this, these were still viable about this time of year. But, they didn't grow that well. Now, over here, these did survive. Now, looky here, we've got his various kinds of onions, some over here. And they did survive. They did well. And I planted these radishes, I don't know, about a month ago or so. So several times when it froze in here, these were all laying down. But they came back up again because radishes are pretty strong that way. And there's an old celery plant that I think I got to pull that out of there. And if you look on that side, of course over there's a whole lot of celery that's growing. Let me show you that. Now this celery right here came from a plant that was growing in here, and basically it's the seeds that fell off of it. So these are volunteers. But see, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pull these out, and we're going to plant them in the aquaponic environment because they grow really, really well. So these survived through the winter, did really well. And then there's a few things like some carrots. There's a carrot back there that survived. And now these were peppers, and of course they didn't survive. They just need to be pulled out of here. And here's another stray celery plant, another one. See, the celery plants the seeds just went everywhere, so they're growing well. Now in here, I think these are onions or shallots or something. But they survived it. They didn't grow that well. Now these are carrots. I had a bunch of carrots planted in here, but I wasn't real happy with how they grew. They were probably stubby carrots. But let's just pull one out that looks like it wintered over. And yeah, you can see they're short, stubby carrots, but I don't think I'll plant them again. And anyway, so now yeah, I don't like that too much. But anyway, now over here, this is interesting. These were planted, I think, in November of last year. So what is that? November, December, January. So they've been growing for 2 months. And you see, for 2 months old, they're not very big. So during the winter, they grew very, very slowly because it was generally 50 degrees in here at the warmest most times. But these froze, and I remember seeing them lay down because it got so cold. Like I say, several times it got 22 degrees in here. But as you can see, they survived the winter, and here they come to grow. So they're pretty good. Now, over here, nothing survived here because these, I think, were various kinds of peppers, and of course they're not going to survive. Now this is a lettuce plant, and you can see there's lettuce seeds on the top, but I've got plenty of seeds. I'm not going to save them. And of course, there's my fish pond, and of course the fish survived quite well. Let's see if I can get a shot of that. As you can see in there, yeah, you can see them running. See there? The water temperature right now is 42 degrees, and a couple of times it got down as low as 39 degrees in there. But these fish, they just kind of hibernate, and they're kind of hibernating right now. even though they're not asleep, they swim around. But you throw fish food in there, and they just don't seem to have an appetite. They stop eating. But they survived, and they'll do fine. Now, let's go over here. Now, of course, these are grapes, and these survived, of course. But what they'll do is they'll regenerate and come up. But these I'm going to cut out because the types of grapes they're just not worth it. I could do a lot better with beans or peas or something else here that works better, because the grapes, these are seedless grapes, and you can just go to the store and buy much better grapes than these. So these are kind of disappointing. But let's go over here, and as you can see on the ground here, see, these are celery plants that just all over the place, just growing. And of course they survive. There's one back there. Now here's some celery I had in the aquaponics, and as you can see, it's kind of hit and miss. Well, these are the tall ones. Now these went to seed, and as you can see, there's just seeds all over the place in these things. So I'm going to put that aside. But right now, as you can see, if you look in there, these celery plants survived quite well. Of course, they didn't grow much during the winter, but they survived. And I just pulled a stem off of one of these and tasted it, and it's very good. Let me pull one off here so you can see. There you go. There's a nice young piece of celery, and very good, very tasty. Let me take a bite. Oh yeah, very good. So these survived. And here's some new celery. Oh, look at that, growing along the side of the cup, of all things. I better get that out of there and put it in a cup, but I'll do that later. Now here's some more that I just picked these out and just put them in water, but you can see they're doing well. And these are leeks right here. These leeks I planted in last November, I think. And as you can see, they have survived, but they're not looking very good. And that's because it's been so cold in here, but they didn't die. So these are going to come back and probably have a nice little crop of leeks pretty soon. Well, not real soon. And in here, and here's another patch of celery. And again, these survived quite well, quite nicely. And of course, there's nothing in here, and there's nothing over here. Now, the one thing about this, none of this froze, even though it got well below freezing in here. And I have another video that shows in the winter when I was first building this, that before they were circulating, these things, the water in these things froze to a solid block. And as long as you keep these circulating, they don't freeze. There's not even any ice on them, as cold as it gets outside. And that's because of the fish pond over here. Now this fish pond is about 4 or 5 feet deep, something like that. And that's why the water doesn't freeze in here, is because the heat from the earth down there, is like 40 degrees or something like that. But the point is that the heat keeps getting replenished in the earth down there, and it keeps heating this up. And as I circulate it around, it keeps it from getting too cold in here. And what that would tell me, I think, is if I really worked on this and had a bigger pond, I could probably actually use it in a heat exchanger and keep it from freezing in here at all, but probably have to be quite a lot larger. But anyway, that's what we're going to do here with this. Now, I want to show you something here. I don't know if you can see this, but there are fish in here. And they survive too. It's hard to see. They're hiding, but I can tell you I have seen them, and they're little tiny fish, and they like maybe that long, and some of them are not that tiny. And what happened is the big fish in the big pond were they were breeding, and that's how they got here. And the way they would have to get into these grow beds is they would have had to go through the pump, and it's a centrifugal pump. I don't see one here, but they're in here. They hide pretty well. But they would have had to go through the centrifugal pump. And as you can see right over here, you can see it barely under the water right there. and they survived going through the pump. And there you go. And even some of them are in here. There are some fish in here too, little baby ones. And they did the same thing, except they go through this little hose in that little valve, and even through that, some of them survived, and they're in these grow beds. So that's quite. I never would have thought a fish would survive going through that, even if they're little. But can't see them now. I'll have to sneak in here one night and get some pictures for you. Anyway, so this is what we're going to do today. I am going to take those grapes vines out of there and just clear that away, and we'll start working on that. Okay, if you can see him, there's a fish down there. Let me shake it a little. See him move? There, see, there's fish in here. Okay, well, I got the grapevines pretty well chopped back, as you can see. Now I've got to come in here later and finish the job, but these are tree trunk kind of things. Well, they're pretty big stalks. I have to get something else to cut these. I've cut this one, and I've cut that one, and there's the pile of brush. So, got to take that and mulch it down or something. But now I'm going to leave the trellises up, because for beans or peas, these would be good things to climb on. Anyway, there it is.